Hey, what's up, everybody? Jazzbro Gonzo here. Another What's Next. Did a video yesterday in regards to epic fails, pop culture 2021. It was a long article done by Bounding in the Comics. So I had to break this down into two parts. Part one was yesterday. Part two is now. So let's get to it, shall we? Ellen DeGeneres finally gets canceled. Popular comedian and far-left activist Ellen DeGeneres built a personal brand that relied heavily on how nice a person she really was. But was she? Indeed, her popular daytime show made it this abundantly clear, but things were so rosy behind the curtains. Yes, once the curtain was removed and the wizard was exposed, yes, ugliness ensued. Accusations from staffers regarding DeGeneres' toxic and abusive attitude began to surface, and it wasn't long before she was on the chopping block. The show is reported to end this year, with DeGeneres claiming that it was time for her to move on. Yeah, I'm sure it was, Ellen. I'm sure it was. It's patently obvious that the scandal has affected her brand image, and she is preparing to make carefully planned exit in order to maintain a semblance of integrity. How far this will fly with fans who felt cheated by her hypocrisy remains to be seen. LeBron James cripples his credibility. Temperamental star LeBron James has trouble maintaining his credibility throughout 2021, thanks to a series of spectacular gaffes and many longtime fans rethinking their impression of him. James, known as a race baiter who once purportedly faked a hate crime involving his own residents, yes, spray painting nasty things on his wall in his home in Los Angeles, turned out to be fake, and it was set up, was quick to chime on race relations regarding Twitter last year, which led to spectacular backlashes. Some of James' most infamous blunders involving an openly threatening a police officer who saved a young black girl from being knifed to death by another black girl, and his stance on Kyle Rittenhouse, which seemed astonishingly ignorant. But then again, that's LeBron James. Just call me ignorant. He kowtowed to the Chinese Communist Party while ejecting fans from the games who were heckling him, which seemed juvenile. At the very least, perhaps he was upset by his meteoric flop and cratering that was Space Jam 2. And of course, you can hear in the background, listen for it, Michael's laughing. YouTube gives itself a free speech award. Yes. In one of the most spectacular, outrageous examples of leftist denial and hypocrisy ever committed to history, YouTube decided it would be a great idea to pat itself on the back. Let me give myself an award just because. Of all things, free speech. Company CEO Susan Wojcicki praised herself and YouTube for its hard work in broadening the conversation and allowing everyone to have an equal say, regardless of opinion, which is absolutely false. Naturally, this was met with mockery and laughter across the board. YouTube is one of the most censorious and dishonest media outlets in the modern age. This is not YouTube of 10 years ago. Now, when you got those like Steven Crowder getting demonetized and thrown off just because of posting common sense and facts, yeah, there's a problem. Let's see. And will routinely change its already vague rules. They move the goalposts like it's going out of style in an attempt to silence and suppress anyone with a viewpoint they don't like. Content creators have been bearing the brunt of this for years. This is why alternatives like Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey are gaining momentum. KFC's uber racist faux pas. KFC's Trinidad and Tobago locale made a huge boo-boo in May of 2021 when it ran one of the most tone-deaf and ill-conceived marketing campaigns in its history. The ad in question was a nod to domestic terrorist organizations like Black Lives Matter. Yes, those lovely peaceful protesters, you know, Michael Brown, hands up, don't shoot, lie. Freddie Gray got shot by cops and, well, lie. As Ferguson, Baltimore burned down, and to the tune of billions in damage last year, but they were just peaceful. Marxist trained ideological group with very little to say about Black Lives Matter. And a lot more to say about ripping down capitalism, emptying all the jails, and destroying the nuclear family. Yes, mom, dad, kids. Who the needs them? Regardless, KFC decided to showcase its Black Power drumstick, which was a piece of fried chicken and cast a shadow of the iconic clenched fist, a known BLM symbol. Ironically, the iconic image was created by Black Consciousness Movement, which was started by brave men like Steve Biko during the South African apartheid era and was regarded as a non-racist symbol that preached MLK-style unity between races. KFC's decision to capitalize on its prevalent racial stereotype involving African Americans and fried chicken is one for the history books and speaks volumes once again about the inherent racism and tone deaf of the left standard. John Cena licks the CCP's boots and kisses the ass. For a man with a neck as thick as a rainforest tree trunk is wondering how former WWE wrestler turned actor John Cena had a spine capable of supporting it. In 2021, Cena essentially got down on his hands and knees, make sure those pads were, firmly in place, and and apologized to the Chinese Communist Party, for mistakenly referring to Taiwan as an actual independent country, which they are. He posted his apology video, received instant backlash, with many claiming that Cena was both a coward and a sellout to human rights abuses of the Chi-Coms. This came hot on the heels of a viral video showing a WHO member abruptly shutting off a video call with an investigator who asked him whether or not he acknowledged Taiwan's existence or not. Leftist educators teach first-grade children how to masturbate properly. Yes, exactly. You got to start them off while they're young. If there ever was a case for private schooling and complete retooling of the U.S. public education system, this was it. The incident in question involved the propaganda material being shown to first-grade school children, which showed them how to masturbate properly. Yes, that's right. Make sure you get your Clinton on. This was part of the broader agenda on behalf of the leftist-dominated education system to introduce children to pornography and sexualize them from at a young age. There was a time when the left said that they would never, ever come for the kids. But the mask is now off and they're doing it in plain sight. Coincidentally, this kind of radicalized sexuality and gender theory propaganda would score Republican Glenn Youngkin a massive victory in Virginia and rippling effects being against the left felt across the country. Ah, yes. Kevin Smith swung up royally. Several prominent Hollywood leftists found themselves in a hot seat in 2021, but Kevin Smith was the guy who got the head start. His handling of the extremely popular, nostalgic Master of the Universe property, He-Man, for Netflix became a parody unto itself. With Smith getting caught in its own repeated lies about the nature of the show, his knowledge of the property, and how the story would progress. Fan reaction and backlash was immediately and epic, and Master of the Universe tanked with the viewers' decision to kill off key characters, including He-Man. Yes, let's kill off the lead to pave the way for half-shaved head Teela. Yes, you know those. It was Teela against the patriarchy, as the new hero was a standard Hollywood fare up to that point. What was truly unforgivable was how the show was initially marketed. As He-Man's grand return, it was anything but, and Smith endured a meltdown over scrutiny and fan backlash. And part 2 got trashed even worse, I think, than part 1. Marvel's MCU hits a brick wall. Avengers Endgame signaled the end of the massive story arc for the MCU. When Tony died, the MCU died, and topping it was a nearly impossible task. Kevin Feige and company, with their phase woke, did little to make things easier on themselves, especially when they announced that the woke of the MCU, or the MCU, when they would prioritize wokeness over everything else, including apparently a good story and likable characters. The loss was staggering, came one after the other. Black Widow came in well below expectations. Shang-Chi barely made a buck. The Eternals went down in flames. Things weren't getting better on Disney Plus either. Fans tuned out Falcon and Winter Soldier. WandaVision failed to ignite any excitement. Loki bombed. Hawkeye went straight into the dustbin or the dumpster. Only the earth-shattering success of the completely non-woke Sony-led Spider-Man No Way Home managed to make waves, and it's doubtful Disney or Marvel will ever get the message. Elderly Star Wars memorabilia store owner takes on the entire left and wins royally. In August, news began surfacing about the elderly Star Wars memorabilia shop owner who was doxxed, harassed, threatened by unhinged leftist radicals following an altercation with a tranny activist. Yes, ma'am. Rather than bend the knee and apologize, the comic book shop owner boldly stood his ground, giving a collective middle finger entirely to the left, and we loved it. The irony of this individual received massive, overwhelming support from the public, and it was enough to turn the tide back in his favor. The threats turned out to be meaningless, and the left backed down when they realized he would not budge. A lesson to everyone in 2022: the only person who can cancel you is yourself. Lord Farquaad documentary gets destroyed. Farquaad has become a synonymous with bureaucratic corruption over the last year, the most dangerous bureaucrat in America, thanks to a large part of his dealings with Chi-Coms regarding the coup. He brazenly lied to Congress regarding the nature of gain-of-function research. He acknowledged openly he continued wearing masks after being vaccinated, 3, 4, 5, 10 masks, for the sake of political theater. And he had gotten every single possible thing wrong about COVID since the start. Then again, Trump did him no favors by putting him at the head. It was no wonder then that the public backlash would lead to outrageous Magnolia Pictures documentary getting excoriated by practically everyone. The film currently sits at 2% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, which is a living, breathing proof that nobody takes the highest paid bureaucrat mouthpiece in Congress seriously anymore. But now we get to the piece de resistance. The Dave Chappelle. The Dave Chappelle. That wasn't. Wow, I couldn't even get that out. Dave Chappelle ruffled the feathers and earned the scathing ire of the radical left when his Netflix special aired, showing him standing up for J.K. Rowling and Team TERF, a reference to the basic fact that biological gender is a reality and fact, not a social construct, as claimed by the left still to this day. Chappelle's views were shared by the majority of the country and around the world, who understand that males and females actually exist and nothing is going to change that. The threats and proclamations of justice and accountability came swift and hard from the left, but in the end, they amounted to little more than a drop in the bucket. Netflix refused to cave. The ensuing protests were microscopic in size. The threats of a mass walkout by Netflix employees went over with all the bombast and volume of a Simon's cat video on YouTube. My thoughts. Wow, this part was actually longer than the first. Holy cow. But there's more. There's a little bit more to this, but yeah. With everything in this article, it pretty much epitomizes, it crystallizes everything that the left is. Ass clowns, morons, cretins, buffoons, jerk-offs, dweebs, douchebags. I could go on, but yeah. This is a perfect learning lesson in 2022 now. We saw the tide turn. We saw the pendulum swing, and we must continue to have it swung our way when it comes to facts, when it comes to common sense, when it comes to critical thinking, when it comes to common sense, when it comes to being on the right of history. When we do things like we did in 2021, things change. When we stand up to the bullshit that is the left, things change. And we must continue to do so in 2022. And with that being said, I'm Jazz Borganzo. This is What's Next. Want to see more just like this? Please leave a comment below. Like it, share it, subscribe to it. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.